The Digital Market Act in the European Union reshapes the ground and levels for startups and small businesses. What you need to know coming up now. Hey, I'm Oliver and welcome back to the channel Ask Me Startup, where we talk about startups, small businesses and the world that surrounds them. If you're new here, please consider subscribing and pushing that notification bell because it really helps this channel to grow. If you're into business, if you plan to start a business, please feel free to download my free startup checklist, link in the description below. Now, today I want to talk to you about a very important topic because it changes the world, or hopefully changes the world in the European Union, which is the Digital Markets Act. Now, this is part of the Digital Service Act, which I can link up here, and you can watch that long video up here. And it has some big implications for startups and small businesses. Because let's face it, today, most of the time, you rely on advertisement or another platform such as Google, Facebook, Twitter, or Amazon. And that can make life difficult and hard, and you're not always granted a fair share of your efforts. Why is it so important? Because small startups foster innovation, and the big companies, they don't anymore. Hence, we need to find level grounds, and under current circumstances, the winner takes it all, meaning if you're relying on the Amazon platform, there's nothing in the world you can do to avoid it. But then they should not take advantage of your work and use it for themselves. So, as a start, let's go right into the EU website and read through the things that are important for you if you plan to start any small business in this world. As I mentioned before, gatekeeper companies are those platforms that you have to use because of their size, because of their attractiveness to your customers. That could be Amazon, for instance. That could be Google, that could be Twitter, that could be Meta with Facebook or Instagram or any of this kind. Hence, they have to fulfill new regulations in the European market if they want to still do advertisement here. And please keep in mind that these rules will be enforced, and it can be very painful for those big gatekeeper platforms not to follow them, because you can be charged up to 20% of yearly revenue. Not profit, yearly revenue. That's significant. Okay, let's deep dive directly to that website, and we can see the first things. What do gatekeepers platforms will have to? Well, they will have to allow third parties to interoperate with the gatekeeper's own service in certain specific situations, meaning you have to be granted access. Then they will have to allow their business users to access the data that they generate in their use of the gatekeeper's platform. This is huge. Like, you have to understand now, or you should be able to get the data Amazon creates with search inputs for your products, for instance, which is huge because this way you're able to better attract or focus on your customers. Then it has to provide companies advertising on their platform with the tools and information necessary for advertisers and publishers to carry out their own independent verification of their advertisements hosted by the gatekeeper. You shouldn't just rely that Facebook is placing your ads where you hope it will place them. They have to prove it. And they will have to allow their business users to promote their offer and conclude contracts with their customers outside the platform. Now that is huge. Let's consider you have an app and it is listed on Apple's App Store. What happens? Usually Apple takes 30% of your revenue that you do with your app on their App Store. And they will not allow you to circumvent this path. Now they will have to. Now the EU forces them to open up different roads. Why? At the end, you want to make sure you have fair competition. That's all. Now we understand what the gatekeeper companies and products will have to do, but what can they not do any longer? And I think that's also really relevant because it has to trigger your thinking process. What are we going to see? Now, please be aware, this is new regulation. It is in place now, but it hasn't been challenged in front of a court or any jurisdiction as of today. Hence, we will see some fights about this until this really plays into a smooth, subtle role for every day. But let's read through what is not allowed. And number one is treat services and products offered by gatekeepers itself more favorably in ranking than similar services or products offered by third parties on the gatekeepers platform. So Amazon cannot promote its own products much more favorable than yours. And I think this is huge because currently they learn which products are new because you're taking the risk with your startup, with your small business. And then they just copy it and make it faster and better and more available. And hence you lose the market. You put in all the work and Amazon takes all the profits. Not nice. Then they have to prevent consumers from linking up to businesses outside their platforms. They cannot prevent this anymore. Hence, if you run your store and have a presence on the Amazon web shop, for instance, you have the right now to post your own web shop outside of Amazon, most likely for lower fees and all these other things that are possible. Then they cannot prevent users from uninstalling any pre-installed software or app if they wish so. Which is also nice because if you remember the old days, Apple kind of prevented some apps to be deinstalled, and maybe that's not the right thing to do. What they cannot do is track end users outside of the gatekeeper's core platform service for the purpose of target advertising without effective consent having been granted. Now, meaning they will have a hard time, which also implies that if you collect data, let's say you've advertised on Meta, one of Meta's platforms, Instagram or Facebook, and you have managed to drag those customers onto your website, they are not allowed to understand what your customers have been clicking on your website anymore. Meaning you have more power. Your data are more accurate on your customers than Facebook's will ever be. Let's hope this will play out like this in the future. So as a summary, I have to say, I think this is one of the most important legislation we've seen in the European Union because it should enable a much better, much more competitive digital service or digital space in the European Union and its associated countries. And that is true no matter whether you're offering the services from India, from Africa, from the US to Europe, you will have to follow those rules. And I'm sure that part of these implications will be seen in other parts of the world as well. Now, they claim that they will dynamically adopt all these legislation. Let's see how things turn out. However, I need you to understand, as a startup, as a small business, you have now a much, much better ground to fight off and compete in the business than you've ever had before. All right, everybody. I thank you very much for paying attention to this very, very important video. If you have your personal experiences in the Digital Markets Act, for instance, I would be happy if you please drop a comment down below. And of course, if you made it so far in this video, please subscribe and smash the like button for this channel because it really helps this channel to grow. And once again, I'm going to see you next time.